Well, I think today I had a couple notes that I was just going to go ahead and share because again, it's always nice to give people some idea and idea of how to be successful in their space.
Mhm,
And I come to this, I come to this platform, mostly from the entrepreneurship and the business side of things.
mhm,
And I'm always trying to recommend because I know how important that is for us to build our own lives personally as well as professionally. And if we're trying to change the generational wealth gap or that generational wealth dynamic that affects us and our families and our communities, we really have to do it. And I think through entrepreneurship. I think business owners, that's the
yep,
best way to do it, the best
mhm,
way to affect your life, your family, and change the dynamic for you and your children and your generations that are to come. So when I think of showing up here, I'm always thinking, well, what can we leave the audience? What can we give them? What are the kind of tips and conversations that will help them move along? It doesn't always have to be profound. It
mhm,
doesn't always have to be a big, long lesson, but it's always nice to have something that you can take tangible and move on.
mhm,
So for myself, I was going to move the conversation into two of the most important things that you need to be aware of before you start your business. So
mhm.
this is not as the business is going, although you can certainly apply this as the business is going. But if you apply before you start your business, you'll get the best results out of it. So that's what I was going to share with the audience.
Yeah,
And if you're ready, I'll go ahead.
yeah, awesome. I love it. Go ahead.
All right. So first tip, perform your due diligence. We said it a little bit earlier. The reason you want to do this is because you want to know what you want to do before you just start jumping into action. Well, too many times when someone wants to open up a business, they just immediately start doing random things that they think are going to align later on, and they hope that it happens.
Mhm,
And what people normally do is they end up creating this hodgepodge of things and concepts and ideas and strategies. And it's almost like a Franken business that they create. A little
mhm,
piece of this and a little piece of that. And I like what they were doing over there. And I'm going to add that to my business. And this works for me here. And yes, it might work, but it may not be the most effective, right?
mhm,
And this is where we're talking about needle moving as opposed to busy work.
mhm,
So when you're performing your due diligence, one of the things you're thinking of in the beginning, what do you want to do? What do you personally want to do? What kind of business do you want to run? What's the business model going to be like? What does that market already look like? The one that you're going to get into. Did you perform a market analysis? Did you find out where the trends are, where the money is, where it's not? Have you started to define some of your client avatars? What do they want? What do they sound like, look like? What are the language that's going to resonate with them? How are you going to show up in that space? And what does that look like? If we put some time into that due diligence before we get there, before we actually start doing anything, oftentimes our next actions are golden and they take us so much further and so much wider and broader and they're so much more effective because we're doing the thing that we need to do as opposed to doing things and hoping that it works out and hoping that it aligns with our next step. Here's where we get a chance to really plan things out. So for me, I always think, my history coming up, I came through a construction industry, I came through a renewable energy industry. In each of those spaces, um, the last thing you want to do is go in there and start touching and poking and moving and replacing things before you find out what the problem is.
mhm,
Because what happens is, take a boiler, for example. The boiler's not working. I go in, I replace the first part I see. Oh man, it didn't work. I replace the second part I see. Man, that didn't work either. I'm just going to process of elimination until I figure it out. You have wasted so much time, so much energy, as well as you have frustrated the hell out of your client, right? So here is where don't touch anything.
mhm,
Don't do anything. Perform your due diligence, find out what you want, what it looks like, and then move into action. It's going to help you so much. And again, this is what to do before you start your business. So
mhm,
that's one, right? The second one, and we've talked about this a bunch of times, and you covered this a lot, your other guests. Perform that inner work. You
mm.
got to do the inner work first.
Yeah,
It
that's what
it
I'm
has to
doing.
be done without a doubt.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, every day, all day.
That's right. And in portion of that, and again, we touched on this a little bit earlier. Examine your limiting beliefs.
Mhm,
Oftentimes, we are given everyone else's baggage as we're growing up, and
mhm,
we hold on to it like it's our own.
yeah,
And then at some point in time in our life, usually later on in life, we open up that bag and we look at a bunch of stuff that doesn't belong to us,
mhm,
a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense for us, a bunch of stuff that we don't agree with or align with. But we've been holding on to those things, and it's been skewing our view of the world and how we approach it and how we, create results in it. That doesn't serve us. So again, do the inner work first. Here's where you examine limiting beliefs. After you've done that, rewrite your own codes. You have every ability to abandon those things that don't work and start doing the things that do. And here is where, again, we recognize we've been taught so much garbage over the years. You're not responsible for all of it,
Yeah.
but you are responsible for what you continue to move on. Once you become aware, that's when you're responsible.
Yeah, you gotta
So
make
once
that
you get
choice.
into the Absolutely. Once you get into a space of awareness, make some good decisions and then move on. And now just start to rewrite those things or just abandon them, even if you don't know how to rewrite them,
Hmm.
even if you don't know exactly how to change this thing,
Yeah.
identify the problem and let it go. At the very least, stop feeding that animal. And then the last one is, and this is in reference to inner work, anti-fragility, right? We must be resilient and strong in the face of adversity.
Mhm.
We must be able to overcome our circumstance. We can't continue to define ourselves by our circumstance.
Mhm.
And this is where we start to realize when things don't go right, when we run into, trauma or difficulty or adversity, those are opportunities for us to overcome, learn, and then we can move on past it and never repeat those mistakes again. So important to adapt and learn. And this is what anti fragility is about. You really want to be able to experience things because life happens. You can't control all of those things, but you have every ability to be resilient through them. And I always like to remind people successful people plan for where they want to be, and unsuccessful people will plan according to their current circumstance.
Yeah.
And you have to get away from that. It's a cycle, it's a pattern. Oftentimes, those are one of the limiting beliefs. This is why we hold things close to the vest. This is why we're so reactionary instead of being proactive.
Mhm.
It's just so important that we start to move into those spaces. So, those two things before you start your business, if you're spending some time there, by the time you actually move into the actual work of your business, you're
Mhm.
going to be making the right steps, making the right connections, and doing the things that propel you much further and much faster.
Those are amazing tips, and I thank you so much. And the viewers are gonna, use those tips along with the other ones that you had, and get them to the next level. So I really
Hope
appreciate you taking the time to drop in and give us those tips.
Of course, Linda, I'm always, always at your service. You let me know when you're available, and I am there.
I love it. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
You got it. Talk to
Bye
you
bye.
soon.
What?
How was that call with Sunrise?
Oh, the call with Sunrise. I mean, there's a nice handful of people that every time I have conversations with them, there's
Mhm.
something that's always inspiring. Something comes out of it. There's like tips and tricks that she either learns or I learn, and there's always like a synchronicity of it that's just beautiful every time I have conversations with her. So I love it.
No doubt. No doubt. That's good. That's great. Now, how do you guys structure your conversations? Is it tailored? You guys figure it out beforehand, or you just kind of
No,
show up and go?
no, we just show up and go.
No doubt.
I
Mhm.
used to be more strict with my questions that I used to do, but now
Mhm.
it's more intuitive, so
Yep.
I'll have a question, I'll come to the table that I'll have in my head, or I'll have some quotes from another podcast that I resonates with me. And even if I bring it up, like today's conversation, I had one question that I was going to ask, but we didn't even get to it because we started talking about my podcast, and then in turn resonated with her, and we just went on our own conversation.
No doubt. No doubt. And that's a good way too. Because it's organic. It kind of happens naturally, and you just go with the flow. How long do you guys usually talk for?
About an hour.
No doubt. No, that's a nice way.
Yeah.
That's a nice way. At this point, are you starting to accumulate like a little library of, like you got
Yes.
a bunch
Yeah.
that you have to, finish off and get ready?
Yes, like I was just telling her that I'm up to my last season before I hit 100 podcasts.
Oh, that is no joke.
Yeah.
That is no joke. Congratulations, my dear.
Thank
That's
thank
fantastic.
you. It's gonna be exciting.
No, that's a nice milestone for sure.
So my Wednesdays conversations either will have a topic, or maybe I'll these days I'm also asking the guests like if they have a topic they want to talk about,
Mhm.
but it's more organic these days. So I'm really just checking in on you and us and seeing how you're doing.
Yeah, overall feeling pretty good, just obviously, I got the project going across the street over there at my mom's and just taking care of that, helping her out with some contractors and such. We have to be so careful, right, with our parents and our elderly. We must watch over them, make sure they're not getting taken advantage of, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So, I stay busy with little things like that for now because I've really stepped away from a lot of work, this past year since
yeah.
my father passed. And at this point now I'm finally starting to feel a little momentum building, right?
Okay.
And I was thinking about it for the last maybe like the last month and a half. I've been thinking about it. I'm ready to get back to some things. I'm ready to get into the swing of things. And just yesterday, so here's the beauty of the universe, right?
Mm,
Just yesterday, I am saying to myself, okay, I think I'm officially ready now. I think I'm definitely ready to start taking some intentional steps, reaching out to individuals, and starting that path back to me,
yeah.
and kind of making people aware, letting them know what's going on, letting them know I'm available. Because up until now, I've had a lot of people reaching out to me, but I've been telling them, hey, I'm not available. I'm not taking any client work right now. My calendar is completely full. And I've been leaving it like that. So this way, they don't feel bad about not being able to secure my work. And at the same time, it gives me the space to continue to heal and, just feel better and get back to it.
Mm.
So I was saying to myself yesterday, I'm ready. I'm totally ready. 9 o'clock yesterday morning, I get the first call from an old client, like, "Hey, Gary, I've been thinking about you for the last few months. I really could use your help in any capacity. Do you have a moment for me?" And I
Wow.
said, "Absolutely, let's talk." Right. So we've been talking for about an hour. About 12:30 in the afternoon, I get a second call. Another former client. She reaches out to me. "Hey, Gary, I've been thinking about you. You've been on my mind. I remember you told me at the beginning of the year how important it is to close out your years properly, move over into the beginning of the new year."
Mm-hmm.
And there it is. She calls, she sets that up. We have a beautiful conversation.
Mm-hmm.
In the evening now, this is about 5 or 6 o'clock yesterday, I get a call from another former client. He is a author. He's written a few books. He's in the tech space. He's a major developer in that space. Um, and he's like, I'm ready to commit to this fully, and I'm starting to recognize, just like the old conversations we had. You need to support yourself. I need to have the right people around me. I need to really be intentional about my work. Do you think you have some time for me? Can we set something up over the next couple months? I think I'm ready for it. And I know we had these conversations about a year ago, but I am now ready to move into that space. How about you?
Yeah.
So this is how intention works, and this is how the universe works,
Yeah.
right? When you are ready,
Mm-hmm.
the universe will open itself to you. The
Mm.
universe will bend and lean towards your favor if you allow it.
Yeah.
And yesterday was one of those moments of clarity for
Wow.
me, just
Mhm.
letting me know it's exactly right.
Well, see that I think that's beautiful, and I think that's beautiful to be able to catch you when you have this moment that's happened to you, and have these weekly conversations with you as a little check-in of like, how's your week going? What's happening? What is resonating? What's powerful? So this is beautiful
Hmm.
that we're able to catch up and hear this story.
Yeah, so it was really nice for me. 'Cause like I said, I'm coming out of a period of mourning and such,
Yeah.
and you got to do that slowly. And
Mhm.
everybody's journey and everybody's path is different. And I was very intentional about being very forgiving and just delicate and aware with myself.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was like, all right, I think I don't know that I'm ready to start running, but I'm definitely ready to start moving around, doing some things. And just the intentional thought will
Mm.
drive the intentional action. Because
Wow.
there it is, right? Like when we think of things, and this is how powerful we are.
Yeah.
All we have to do is put something in our mind, think of something, and just like that, it's starting to manifest itself and it's working its way back towards you, the
Mhm.
same way you're working towards it.
Yeah.
And the more in tune you are, the faster you get to it, the faster it finds you. And
Yeah.
just like that, I was thinking about that last night, the evening before. As I woke up in the morning, I was thinking about it just a little bit, and within an hour, 2 hours of waking up, there it is. The first phone call, and there it happens.
Mhm.
So, I certainly appreciate these things, and these are some of the things that we really got to lean into. Whether
Yeah.
you're, creating business or not, just living in your own personal life, wherever you're applying those lessons, lean into that intentional work. It will benefit you long term.
Yeah. It's kind of like the law of attraction.
Yep. For
right?
sure. You know, the only difference is this shit actually works, right? So law of attraction, so the problem with law of attraction, right? People think that you can just think it and magically that shit
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
It doesn't work that
No,
way.
you need some
You got to put in the
action.
work.
Yeah.
Well, you got to put in the work. You got to have all of that. You got to have that in place. You have to create layers of it. You have to intentionally feed it. You have to do this consistently over time.
Mhm,
And then when you're ready to turn it back on, it will turn on immediately for you.
mhm.
But it's not just all of a sudden, hey man, I was thinking some nice thoughts. And just like that, everything started to fold in place for me. And the universe is so amazing and everything just aligned. Nah, man, it don't work like that. It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
does not work like that,
yeah.
So law of attraction with execution, maybe.
With
Law of execution.
execution, yeah, consistency, action, practicing and doing all the work into it, and then it'll come.
I say it's like those sayings, right? Talk is cheap. Another saying we grew up with, right? Knowledge is power.
Yeah,
No, the fuck it ain't. The execution of knowledge is power.
yeah.
Knowledge by itself is just a lot of information that you ain't doing shit with. There's
Mhm,
nothing powerful about that.
mhm.
Nothing powerful about having
Yeah,
a bunch of information. And at that point, you borderline. I'm full of data and information, but I'm not full of wisdom.
yeah, yeah.
When you're just accumulating
Exactly.
knowledge.
It's just like that quote I have like right here: actions, not words.
Yep, for
Like you
sure.
can be, talk is cheap. You can keep talking about it, thinking about it, but if you don't actually don't like put in, the actions and the momentum and like get things done and execute it, it's just a
Yep,
nice thought that's in your head.
yep, absolutely,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
so
So
this is perfect because it coincides with the tips that you had given in the last podcast of like end of year, like what we're gonna do, and here's some tips and all of it.
yeah, it's really nice that I have these conversations with so many people, and it resonates, and people take it to heart, and they sit with it. And it's not something that you have to immediately act on because, again, you can receive all the information you want. If you're not ready to act in that space, then well, that's just information you got to hold on to, and hopefully you apply it later.
Mhm.
So these individuals that I've been speaking to, and these are people that are been in one career, ready to move into another, have been in their career and ready to expand it, grow, or just looking to step into a brand new space. And these are conversations I've had a while ago, and they're finally coming back because they're in a space of their own growth where they're ready to apply it,
Mhm.
and they know once it's time to apply, you know, it's one thing to do work on your own, and it's a whole nother to have somebody in your corner and walk with you along your journey. And
Yeah.
it's so much easier that way, which is why I'm just a big proponent of mentorship and coaching. We don't have to do these things alone, and we shouldn't do these things alone. So I was so pleased to one hear these people reach back out to me because it's always great to hear from some of my clients,
Mhm.
and two, it's just nice to reaffirm what I already know. I am
Mhm.
absolutely powerful. Everything that I want in this world is at my own fingertips, is at the precipice of my own mind, and I can make that thing happen anytime I want.
Yeah.
I just have to be focused and intentional.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that coincides with like when we originally had started talking about these things that you were going to do from the book writing and having it out and then also, teaching your courses and putting it all together. How's that going?
Mhm. All of that is, pretty great.
Mhm.
Again, like I said, I've taken this year off,
Yeah.
but all of that has been moving incredible.
Yeah.
It's working out wonderful. I've been able to apply it in a bunch of ways. I've been able to give back to so many individuals, and then offer these things so that they could take and run. For me, I love the idea of building business. I love the idea of making money. I love the idea of securing my wealth and security and all the other good stuff.
Mhm.
But I love even more so the idea of helping others. So when
Yes.
I create these things, I get a chance to give them to others and let them run with it. And then I get a chance to watch and see how it works. Let's
Hmm.
see it in action, right? It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. And then there's another thing to be able to repeat it. So
Yeah.
I've been able to watch and see these people that I've been working with, and they've not only had success, but they keep coming back. They keep recommending others to come back. Just recently, I had a university in Rochester, a professor there, reach out to me. I've been working with her in the social justice space for
Mhm.
about 2 years now. She is finally in the space where she's teaching a couple different curriculums up there, and she's ready to have me reach out and interact with her students.
Oh, that's
And
great.
it's beautiful that way because this is a whole nother demographic, right?
Yeah.
We need our young people to step up and acknowledge these lessons, take them to heart, and then apply them early.
Hmm.
Because for us, oftentimes we don't know what we don't know.
Mhm.
And we've been taught so many other limiting beliefs from our parents, from others, that we take them and live our life with it. And we don't realize until we start, deconstructing these things in our 30s and 40s and 50s and later, that finally, hey, that doesn't serve me. I need to do
No.
something different. So
Mhm.
if we have the ability to share that information with young people so they can apply it early in their lives, my goodness, if we had the ability to take the right step, the first step right away from the first time we're out there in our teens and early 20s, imagine how different our lives would be.
Yep.
And that's what I had the opportunity to that I will have the opportunity to explore
Yeah.
with this young woman.
I love it. And there was something I was speaking to Caleb actually, and he wanted to also give back to CI. So he was actually we were talking about possibly gathering a group of people that would speak
Mhm.
to, like the 10th graders and like tell them about, us and our experiences and our story to help motivate them and get in on that time where, like you said, when they're young and, we can help them on that ground level.
Yeah, yeah, they're so impressionable at that age.
Mhm.
They're willing to do the work, right? These young people are willing to do the work. They just need the right guidance. They just need the right mentorship. They need to be given actual steps that create needle moving, results for them, and
Yeah.
not just busy work, which is what happens in school.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they're given menial tasks or menial
Mhm.
direction, and it results to busy work, but doesn't really put them on the direction or path they need to be.
Mhm.
So Caleb, I've had this conversation with Caleb as well. We've spoken about it a few times. We love the idea of being able to give back and teach young people. Obviously CI great, but just anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
Teach them and show them and share the lessons so they can then apply it in their lives as soon as they can. We
Yeah.
love it. I've reached out to a few individuals in the CI network. I think I have a I have a good little network now of about maybe 5 to 8 people
Mhm.
who are realistically able to do that,
Mhm.
and we're all committed to that. So I plan to explore that over the next couple months and see who's available. I'd love to be able to do something before the end of the school year, but the school year goes so quick; it's already in place. They've already designed it and
Yeah.
detailed who's going to be there. So maybe it doesn't happen this upcoming this year, maybe the following year,
Yeah,
but
maybe the
I
following year.
absolutely want to, because to
Mhm.
give back to these young people, it's absolutely critical for their success. And in reality, when we look at the world and we look at society, it's not always moving in the best direction,
Yeah.
and we have every ability to do something about that.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing because, from you to Caleb and whoever else, that would the 5 people that I think that would be great to, have these conversations and to open their minds and help them
Mhm,
navigate the world and see, students who went to CI and or whatever areas that you want to go in, any other schools or colleges.
mhm.
I think it would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We think so as well. And like I said, there are about five or so of us that I've been speaking to pretty regularly over about the last year and
Mhm.
change
Yeah.
about this same concept,
Mhm.
because it takes time, right?
Yeah.
This is one of the concepts I also wanted to share. Performing your due diligence, so important to do that before you just step out into the work of anything.
Yeah.
Don't just start touching things, don't just start doing things, don't jump into the work of things, because oftentimes you find yourself doing more work than you have to, doing unnecessary work that doesn't move the needle. So it's
Mhm.
really important to be really intentional about the actions we take,
Mhm.
and when we take them, with whom we take them, and the results that we're going to generate from that.
Yeah. And also, this is a side note that I was been thinking about. I was talking with Jordan, and when he turned the tables on me and interviewed me, I thought that was beautiful and fascinating. And then he was telling me about some teachers in CI. He's like, oh, you should talk to this person, this person, this person. And I was like, oh, that'd be great. But then, like, I thought, what would be even more amazing is that the art and hustle interviews expand. So
Mhm.
I have, like certain people who have relationships with those people, they in turn become the interviewer. So in case like Jordan can talk to the people that he has on, in school. And if you're interested, I think that would be amazing too. If you talk to those 5 people also, and technically you turned into me, I give you my background, you have a conversation with them. And so it's like
Mhm.
expanded conversation interviews now it's just not me. So now it's expanding to all the other people I know, and you know somebody that you would love to speak to and get their, tips and tricks that contribute to the art of living and art
Hmm.
and hustle. Like I would love to do that if you're interested in doing some interviews also.
Yeah, sure. I'm always up for that because I've never met a microphone that I didn't like, right? So I'm happy, right, to always jump out in front and have conversations with individuals.
Yeah.
But it also expands, the conversation.
Yeah.
It allows others to step up to the table and have a slightly different experience and take
Hmm.
on things and point of view, and those things are always beneficial. And when they're
Yeah.
done responsibly, when they're done collectively,
Hmm.
you have the ability to create some really good work.
Yeah, so exactly. I love that word that you just used, collectively. So that's what I would love. I would love to have, a few ambassadors of the Art and Hustle brand that goes out and interviews the, people that they find so inspiring. And then it just, spreads like that. So I think it's beautiful. Love that spreads the collective of it, and people who can influence and help, and service people. And the whole point is just to help and give out tips and tricks to everybody.
Yep, that's right. And just a really positive conversation, something people can, show up to, hear something really positive and move on in their day. Maybe they can apply it right then and there. Maybe it's something they can share with others. Maybe
Hmm.
it's just something that they hear and they're going to apply it when it comes up in their life later on.
Yeah,
But either
yeah,
way, just really positive conversations.
exactly. I love it. So we're going to have you on board.
I love it. Let's
I'm gonna
do it.
recruit you. I'm gonna recruit you and whoever else wants to be part of, the expansion of Art and Hustle, Art of Living. Because I'm sure people get
Yeah.
tired of seeing my face all the time.
Who would ever get tired of seeing your face? You are crazy.
Oh.
But this is what it looks like, right? Service, servant leadership.
Hmm.
It's been in the news as of late, but this is what it looks like, giving back, giving often, and giving as much as we can, and then doing it over and over again. And it's not about reciprocity. It's not about any of those things. It's
Yeah.
just about continuing to give to people who need, as you have an opportunity to do so. I
Mhm.
certainly wouldn't recommend anybody, don't give someone the shirt off your back if it's the only shirt you got.
Yeah.
But if you got a bunch of shirts, go ahead and help yourself, and help others.
Exactly.
But give, 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 give. I've always found that to be a source of my success. I've recommended that to my clients and others, and they have found that to be a source of their success. Because once you get away from the idea of, well, if I give too much, what does that look like? And
Mhm.
when do you stop giving? Once you start to recognize there's no limit to that well. And there's
Yeah.
no limit to that well. You can absolutely continue to give, and it continues to refill itself tenfold.
Yeah.
And once you recognize that dynamic, my goodness, life becomes so beautiful for you and for everyone around
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's phenomenal, and it's
There's so many people that, you know how people say lost in translation?
yes.
I think there are people who are lost in transformation.
Yes. Everybody.
You know what I mean? Like, I
Yes.
think people get
Yeah.
stuck, excuse me, in the transformation
Yeah.
process.
Because you're in shit.
Oh my God, it's so messy. It's so, and you're like, we just lose our crap because it's almost like, it's like, this can't happen to me. This shouldn't be happening to me.
Mhm.
Why me? Why me? Why me?
Yeah.
And then we start throwing tantrums inside of the transformation, right? Because we
Yes.
don't want it. And so this, it's about this divine chaos that I've always talk about, right?
Yes.
And I
Mhm.
just want to put, that's my term, copywritten it all.
I love
Divine,
it. I love it.
divine chaos,
One
right?
of my art shows was Controlled Chaos.
Really?
Yes. I did a series 1, 2, and 3 of Controlled Chaos art shows.
That is,
Well, we always have like synchronicity. So I had to stop you there for a second. I'm like, I love that, right? Because I did a version of it too, because I love the contradiction of things,
yes.
like the beautiful oblivion, controlled chaos, like beautiful mess, like all of it.
Because it's all, it's real. God, I love this. It's really all about our perception. Let's let everybody know about our inspirational journal.
Yup. Yay. Like finally getting back to me, my art. All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like to me, art is in everything. You your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection. You know, you could feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living, and art of it and everything.
I hope that you've cut that piece right there.